Hello, and welcome to this sustainability short on climate and carbon. We'll explain the basics and spark some ideas on how to tackle this issue in the built environment. So, what do we mean by the term climate? Weather is the word we use for day-to-day atmospheric conditions, while climate is the average conditions over a long period of time, usually defined as around 30 years. One of the processes that takes place in Earth's climate is the greenhouse effect, where gases in the atmosphere, like carbon dioxide and methane, absorb heat from the Earth and re-radiate it back to us, stopping some heat escaping into space. Since the Industrial Revolution, fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas have powered our societies. These ancient stores of carbon are formed from organic material deposited and buried millions of years ago. Extracting and burning them releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Change is a natural feature of the Earth's climate, but the changes brought about through burning fossil fuels are unprecedented in speed and scale. There is now more CO2 in the atmosphere than at any time in the past 2 million years. The 1.1 degrees centigrade, or about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, of warming we've seen since the 1850s falls outside of the stable band of temperature our civilizations evolved in. This is causing more frequent and intense storms, flooding, wildfires, and droughts, resulting in crop failures, mass displacement, significant damage to infrastructure and buildings, and even death. Without rapid emissions reductions, there is a high chance we will reach 2.5 to 3 degrees centigrade, or about 4.5 to 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit, of warming by the turn of the century. The largest greenhouse gas emitters annually are developed, industrialized nations and fossil fuel producers, with high-growth economies catching up. Poorer countries emit a tiny amount in comparison, but are often at high risk from the impacts of climate change. Some countries, such as the US, have been burning fossil fuels since the start of the Industrial Revolution, which is evidenced by the US having emitted 25% of all cumulative emissions since 1750. On an individual level, wealth is also a good indication of emissions. The top 10% of earners globally are responsible for about half of global emissions, with the poorest 50% producing only 10%. Energy usage and waste production associated with high consumption lifestyles is one of the main drivers of more greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. We can start to control these emissions through energy efficiency, choosing alternative electricity generation methods, and minimizing the waste we are producing. But it's important that decarbonization costs don't fall on low-income communities. Almost 3/4 of global emissions come from energy use that takes place within industry, transport, and buildings. Agriculture and land use change also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Because so many of our activities create emissions, there are many interventions we can make. Globally, the built environment generates about 40% of annual emissions, both through operational and embodied impacts. Activities at all stages across the construction life cycle can produce greenhouse gases. The U.S. is committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and has set an interim goal to reduce U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by 50 to 52% below 2005 levels by 2030. Many climate interventions and solutions can contribute to healthier, safer, and more resilient communities, while also providing long-term jobs and new and more resilient infrastructure. Climate change is a serious reality, but also an opportunity to transform our world for the better. Thanks for watching our sustainability short on climate and carbon. If you'd like to explore this topic in more detail, check out our related e-learning module.